I pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging, and offer my respects and gratitude for their wisdom and resilience. My name is Honny, and it is a privilege to be joining you here today to moderate some really exciting conversations. I was born in Makassar, South Sulawesi in Indonesia, and have ancestral ties to Tanah Toraja. I migrated here as a child, and I'm so fortunate to be able to call beautiful Perth home. For as long as I can remember, I've had a deep fascination of culture and storytelling, particularly the power of film and digital campaigning to amplify the voices of diverse communities. I've worked closely with global change makers to craft digital campaigns to captivate audience attention around some of the world's most pressing humanitarian and environmental challenges. I truly believe that the answers to these challenges lies in sharing perspectives through cross-cultural engagements. And it is particularly exciting to see the emergence of tech and software to aid us in communicating these messages. I'm proud to be joining you today on behalf of the Australia-Indonesia Business Council, or AIBC for short. Now, a special welcome to those joining us online, especially to our guests joining from the Denpasar City Government. I would like to direct you to the chat, where you can see more about the translation features. We have some dedicated team members monitoring the stream chat, so if you're experiencing any issues or would like to propose a question for the panel discussion, please don't hesitate to reach out. In December 2020, the City of Perth formalised its relationship with Denpasar City by signing a Memorandum of Understanding, which promotes mutual economic benefits and exchanges with a particular focus on creative digital industries. Today, we are honoured to hear remarks from the Lord Mayor Basil Zemplis and the Consul General of the Republic of Indonesia in Perth, Ms. Liciana Oprananta, and are joined by three expert panellists. MONEZ, Art Director of Florto Studio in Denpasar, will share his personal and professional journey as a digital artist and insights into the NFT ecosystem in Indonesia. We'll also be joined by Brad Cunningham, Director of Strategy and Growth at the Yappy Group, who will dive into the key digital marketing trends between Denpasar and Perth, drawing on his extensive experience in the region. Finally, we will hear from Dr Eunice Sari, CEO and co-founder of UX Indonesia, who will share her expertise on UX design and application, different partnership opportunities, and how digital tools can help solve social issues. I would also like to acknowledge a special guest joining us today. We have Lord Mayor Basil Zemplis, Deputy Lord Mayor Councillor Di Bain, Councillor Clyde Bevan, Councillor Victor Coe, Jennifer Matthews, National President of AIBC, Phil Turtle, former National President of AIBC, and the team from AsiaLink. It is my pleasure now to introduce Lord Mayor Basil Zemplis from City of Perth to deliver some remarks.
Thank you, Honey, and a very good, is it good morning or afternoon? Let me just check. It's afternoon because I've just been with the Consul General chatting away, and time flies when you're having fun, Consul General. So thank you, everybody. Good afternoon and welcome. And thank you, Honey, for your introductory remarks. Can I say also from the City of Perth's point of view, it is a great pleasure for us to be hosting today's event. I know that this really is one of the first activities of the West Tech Fest schedule, which the city is a major sponsor of, and it's very exciting for us. The tech space is one that is important to us. It's super relevant, obviously. You need to be in it, and we most certainly are. And I'm thrilled that we have a capacity crowd in here on the 11th floor at the City of Perth, and another 80 people watching online from various places. Unluckily for those 80 people watching online, they don't get the great benefit that you do in here of the sit on your knee lunch pack, which is a great feature of what we like to do here at the City of Perth. We are good to go anywhere, anytime, because it's down to business. Can I too acknowledge the traditional owners of the land upon which we meet, the Whadjuk Noongar people of Western Australia. I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. And it's worth noting that in this room just last week, we had a function to recognise our advisory groups, one of which is our Aboriginal Elders Advisory Group. They help us shape our future direction for the City of Perth. We're very mindful and respectful of what we can learn and what we can do together. And we do everything with an open mind and an open heart. And in particular, in all spaces, as we tread as a new council, it's important to learn and to listen, to recognise what may have gone wrong in the past, but also to use that to go forward together in a meaningful way across all areas of our lives and our community. But particularly, I do pay my respects at every opportunity to our Aboriginal advisory group. Our elders have been quite profound in enabling us to go on the journey with them, and we are a better place for it. I acknowledge the input and support of my fellow elected members, as well as all of the dignitaries who have been mentioned here today, in particular to the new Indonesian Consul General in Perth. It's been my great pleasure to get to know Listiana. But our two countries are very closely aligned. We are great friends. We're geographically very close. And although we might be at times ideologically different, there is no doubt that we want the same things. We want what's best for each other, and we want what's best for our own people. And I love the coming together that the MOU signifies. It has been quite profound. And as we see things, I think we're all going to be proud, as I mentioned just a moment ago, of what we're able to achieve by working together, by showing mutual respect, by listening and learning and moving forward together. And that is what we are all about. This is the city of Perth, for those of you just joining us for the first time. What a beautiful place it is, and how lucky we are to be gathered here. And I won't give it all away, Consul General, but I asked where the Consul General had previously been posted. Not all of those places were as clean and as beautiful as what our city of Perth is. And I said to the Consul General, is it okay if we quote you on a billboard to say how beautifully clean the city of Perth is? We are very lucky. We're very lucky to call Perth home. It is a beautiful place, and we're lucky because we're so geographically well suited, and so many opportunities for us to make the most of, including here. To Jennifer, who's here, to Phil, who's here, to Monet, to Brad Cunningham, and to Dr Eunice Sari. Thank you to all of you for being involved. And Consul General, can I say in front of everybody, we know that you are new into your posting here. I wish you all the very best. We are great friends. We look forward to working closely together. There's a huge Indonesian community here in Perth. They are very important to us, and we hope we are very important to them. And we all know the welcome mat is always rolled out for us whenever we are visiting Indonesia. And we hope and look forward to that welcome mat being rolled out again very soon, when we can get on a Garuda Indonesia flight and travel up to Bali, Denpasar, Jakarta, wherever it might be. Thank you again. Ms. Matthews, can I congratulate you on your recent success in being elected as the National President of the AIBC? Big shoes to follow, we know that, but it's always good to have a great benchmark. And it is fantastic to have West Australians in such nationally prominent roles. And we look forward to continuing our strong advocacy and your strong advocacy for our city and state's relationship with Indonesia. We're so well placed, aren't we? We joke about it here, and I joked about it with the Consul General. But the old line used to be, you could hop on the 8 o'clock flight and be by the pool at midday. Now, you don't have to be going up there to be by the pool, but you can be going up there to do work. We're so close, and it is something that is very important for us all to make the most of. And as I see the nods around the head, it's wonderful to know that that is an opportunity that we are all prepared to make the most of. It's an opportunity too good to waste, and we won't waste it. Finally, as I mentioned, we welcome all of those people who are live streaming. Can I express our gratitude to the Denpasar City Government for their assistance in facilitating this event and their continued support. The Denpasar City Government's Wi-Fi is better than ours, and that's why we're tapping into it. It's been very, very successful indeed. So hello to everybody who can see me in real time. That's great. We are also delighted to be hosting today's event, Reimagining Creative Digital Industries Indonesia. Great title. Purposeful. Long, but purposeful. And I don't think there's any doubt by looking at that title why it is that we're here and what our common goal is. And I think that's excellent. And in partnership with Asia Link Business and with the support of the Australia-Indonesia Business Council, we are proud supporters of this year's West Tech Fest. Today's event, I think in many ways, along with all of the great conversation and dialogue and learnings that we're going to be privy to, it demonstrates our commitment to building cooperation between Perth and Indonesia's digital and creative industries, as set out in the MOU signed between Perth and Denpasar almost exactly 1 year ago. The premise of the MOU, for those of you not aware, is to establish mutually beneficial connections and relationships and facilitate knowledge sharing in the digital and creative ecosystems of each city. So it's not a one-way relationship, it is a two-way relationship. And it gives us all the opportunity to leverage the significant economic potential of both markets. This event represents the second activity under the MOU implementation plan, with the first being an online animation masterclass held in October, which was kindly supported by North Metro TAFE. And as you can see, it brings in all areas of our community. And that's why this is so powerful and why there is such great potential and opportunity from our MOU. Imagine when the borders open, what we're going to be able to do. We're pleased to welcome back one of the presenters from that masterclass, Monet, who will be speaking live from Bali. So what a treat that will be. Some numbers for you. And I like to be able to share these numbers because it shows not only the opportunity and the potential, but also what is at stake potentially and the opportunities that we can tap into. Indonesia's digital economy expanded by 11% to $44 billion in 2020. $44 billion in 2020. And with a long way to grow as Indonesia's mobile phone internet user penetration rate increases rapidly. So they're great numbers and they are only going to get bigger. And that's the great opportunity. Additionally, Indonesia's creative economy was estimated to be worth $130 million in 2020, 130 US in 2020, with the strength brought from Indonesia's rich cultural diversity and, of course, youthful demographic. These two overlapping industries, emboldened by the signing of the Indonesia-Australia Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. We don't believe in small titles here, everybody. The longer the title, the more meaningful it is. And we go long. I'll say it again. The Indonesia-Australia Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. That's our best one yet. A round of applause, everybody. That was signed last year, and it presents great opportunities now and into the future for businesses here in Perth and, of course, in Denpasar. And through our MOU with Denpasar and capacity building events like this today with our partners, Asia Link Business, we really do very sincerely look forward to building the deeper linkages and relationships between our regions to enhance the economic and cultural development opportunities for mutual benefit. So on behalf of everyone at the City of Perth, and my fellow elected members and the administration, I'd like to thank you all for your support in showcasing the collaborative potential of Perth and Denpasar's creative and digital industries. And what better way to reimagine these possibilities than during the West Tech Fest, a celebration of innovation held here in WA. You may have heard the Lord Mayor say just a few weeks ago that as we approach the 60th anniversary of John Glenn, a NASA astronaut who sailed overhead on orbit in the Friendship 2 spacecraft, and he looked down almost exactly 60 years ago on February 20, 1962. And at that time, the people of Perth were asked by the then Lord Mayor to turn their lights on. Actually, the true story is it was a journalist's idea, and the journalist mentioned it to the Lord Mayor. The Lord Mayor thought it was a horrible idea, and then he noticed it was getting some traction. So he quickly claimed it and pushed the journalist into the background. Fortunately, with this Lord Mayor, you've got both. So there's no worries. It'll be one or the other of me putting their hand up and claiming it as a great success. But 60 years ago, the people of Perth opened their minds to the possibilities. An astronaut was flying overhead, John Glenn, a NASA astronaut. And to signify to John Glenn in the Friendship 2 spacecraft and to each other and to the rest of the world that Perth was alive, that we were open, that there was something on the map worth taking a look at. The people of Perth throughout the metropolitan area as far down as Rockingham turned their porch lights on, shined torches on bed sheets, School kids got involved, grandparents. It was a whole of community event. And John Glenn sailed over. He looked down as he went across the coastline of the Indian Ocean. And he said, there's the most fantastic light down there. What is that? He said to NASA headquarters. And the answer he got, which we have the audio of, which we play regularly and will do in the next month or so, the answer he got was, that is the people of Perth shining their lights for you, to guide you, to say hello, to welcome you. That was 60 years ago. And with that, John Glenn proclaimed Perth the city of light. The city of light because of the lights that were on, but also all of those great things that light stood for. It stood for imagination. It stood for possibility. It stood for here we are, have a look at us. We're here, we're open, we want to work with you, we want to be your friend. Next February 20, we will take that back. We will again be known as Perth, the City of Light. And I want you all to know that that spirit of imagination, cooperation, possibility, that shining the light on our capital city will exist as much today as it did back then. And I know, as I look around this room, a great appetite for exactly that, for all of the possibilities that the City of Light, Perth, what we have here amongst our group, what we have amongst our community, and what we are able to share with our neighbours and our friends around the world. And there is no greater friend and no greater neighbour than the country of Indonesia. And for all of that and that we stand for today, we say thank you for being here. I wish you all a wonderful afternoon. And I particularly look forward to all of the great possibilities that are to come from our great relationship. So thank you. And terima kasih. Have a great afternoon. And one last announcement from the Lord Mayor. If you're still hungry, there'll be another box for you.
Terima kasih, Lord Mayor, for your vibrant remarks. It is now my pleasure to introduce to you all Mrs. Listiana Opranata, Consul General of the Republic of Indonesia in Perth, to deliver some remarks.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Thank you for not revealing my previous post, but I can assure you that Perth is one of the most beautiful places that I've ever been, and I've been to several places, and it's a nice city. It's a wonderful city. Thank you. Lord Mayor, Deputy Lord Mayor Council Debane, Councillor Clyde Divine, Councillor Victor Go, Ibu Jennifer, Pak Phil, Ibu Larissa, everyone from Asia Link, speaker and moderators for today's panel discussion, members of Perth and Denpasar working groups, distinguished guest participants, ladies and gentlemen. Very good afternoon to you all. I'm very pleased to be here joining you on the opening of the panel discussion on reimagining creative digital industry in Indonesia. It is a long title, but it's very timely. This is at the West Tech Fest event. That was also quite difficult for me to, I've been practicing West Tech Fest, so I hope I did it right. As part of the implementation of the Perth Denpasar MOU on creative economy ecosystem to 2021. A sincere congratulations for both governments in realizing this progressive milestone. Today's events certainly marks the two cities' ongoing engagement in supporting the development of creative economy ecosystem both in Bali and in Western Australia. This also reflects on Australia and Indonesia priority agenda under the implementation of the UN International Year of Creative Economy for Sustainable Development 2021. The government of Indonesia has since set focus on the role of creative economy as a new driver for economic recovery in the post-pandemic era through the creation of supportive environment, human resources development, as well as the development of the creative hub. Although affected by the pandemic, creative economy, especially creative digital industry, can adapt and certainly take advantage of the massive digital development and utilization of digital technology during the pandemic. The government of Indonesia is also optimistic that the digital industry will generate 46 million potential new creative jobs, firmly supported by Indonesia's strong digital ecosystem in which technology startup, unicorn, and even decacorn have blossomed. as well as the significant number of online penetration with over 171 million internet users just in 2021. Indonesia is also ranked as the world's third largest economy after United States and South Korea in terms of creative economy contribution to the GDP at around 7 to 8% of total USD 9 billion. On that note, the Indonesian Consular Mission in Western Australia is dedicated to develop and supporting all aspects of the optimization of Indonesia existing potential in creative digital industry. City of Perth is certainly the best place to begin with this endeavor, and surely to be followed with other center of excellence across Western Australia. But most of all, we should exchange more ideas and innovative exercise, not only just like the Lord Mayor just said, because we're the closest neighbor, but because we believe that this kind of collaboration will be translated into people-to-people connection, understanding, and prosperity for both nations. Thank you all, and I wish you all a very good discussion.
Thank you very much, Consul General, for your insights. Now we get to the fun part. I'd like to invite the speakers to join me on the stage to jump into some of our discussions today. Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll actually be starting with MONEZ, who's going to be dialing in from Denpasar. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited to be speaking to you today. Just for the sake of the audience, would you mind giving us a little bit of background on your work and art practices?
Hi, Honey, thank you everyone, and thank you for inviting me to this as a speaker today. It's such an honor for me. My name is MONEZ. I'm an illustrator. I'm based in Bali, Indonesia. So I have a studio named Floor. It's a studio for design and illustrations. And we are working various project from illustration, poster, and also animation. And now we are moving to NFT also. So yeah, it's been a great time to go digitally around this time.
Absolutely, and we're so grateful to have your expertise here in the room today. Just for the sake of the audience, I know that non-fungible tokens is quite a new concept to some. Can you provide a little brief explanation of the technology and how you're using it to apply in the visual arts and creative sector?
Yeah, the NFT is actually, I know it's from my client, so they know about NFT and tell me and about what is blockchain and everything and how the system works. But honestly, it's really hard to understand at the beginning because it's really different than what if we learn about the social media such as Instagram or Facebook. It's really easy to learn, but the NFT I have to watch a few of videos and read a few newsletter about the NFTs until I understand what is that and how it's work. But until now, I'm not 100% knows about the technique. But I can share you about my experience as an artist. So because this is a huge wave of technology that come to us as an artist, and it's a new platform for us to sell our work, and also as a gallery to meet a new audience and also new collectors.
That's amazing. And I know we've got quite a few art enthusiasts in the room today. So it'd be wonderful if you can share how you're applying the technology in the way you're producing and selling your works.
Yes. So is this the time that I can share my screen?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes. I think it's easier to understand what I'm doing and also how NFT will be changed on how we work, especially as a digital artist. So I will share my screen now. Okay, can you see it?
Absolutely. Hello to you.
Okay. Yeah, this is me on my small studio at Denpasar. First of all, I would say thank you to Asia Link, City of Perth, and the Australia Indonesia Business Council, and also the Honorable Lord Mayor, Mr. Fasil Tuntilas, City of Perth, and also Ibu Kristiana Opramanta, the Consul General Republic of Indonesia in Perth. So yeah, my name is Monez. I'm an illustrator. So this is my small studio at Denpasar, and this is my team. We are a photo studio. I made a photo studio, so we're working on this project from poster paintings, logo, branding, and also animation. So and I'm also beside working on the commission project. I'm also doing a workshop and teaching about how to create artwork on as a digital artist and creating artwork or creating a character for animation and also for children's books and also creating and also teaching about how to sell your work and also how to make a contract, pricing, etc. And I will tell my story about what I'm doing and what inspired me of my work. So as a Balinese, my artwork are from Balinese and Balinese folktale cultures and also creatures from mythology. And yeah, as you see here, this picture is a Bali MONEZ from Bali cultures. It's a unique because beside the mask has its own unique story. Has also a unique shape and color. And this mask inspired me to make this artwork. But as you see here, I made some adjustment on the details and also colors. And this artwork is I made digitally for my client. It's one of the famous barber shop in Bali. So that's why you see some of the barber icon on the design. Another commission that inspired by Barong is this one, an artwork for Starbucks. Here I use Bali natures and also culture as an inspiration, and from Bali MONEZ, mountains and animals, and all of those elements I combine with my own style and colors and become a new form of design. And this is one of the interesting projects that I mean, for one of the famous apps on iPad. They are from Australia. Maybe most of you know. They are the product named Procreate. They are very famous apps for designer. And I have been working for Procreate for a few projects. And also for another apps such as Affinity Designer. And so most of the projects are creating artwork for the new apps update, and they use my artwork as their campaign. So a very unique project that I never learned on my school. That we don't know that an illustration can be collaborated with a developer of apps. So it's really interesting.
That's an amazing application. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, so this is another project for the app developer. This one is for Affinity Designer. It's from England. And until now, the Bali is still a big influence of my work, combining Bali's culture with digital art, especially folk cultures. It's my way to re-visualize my culture and share it with a new audience. So you can see here, this is based on Bali culture. There's a dragon there, but all of it I combine with a new color and shape, and also because it's digital, the visual is getting different, but you can see the root is still from Bali culture. And just like this one, so this is my work on the right, inspired by old photos of Balinese Rangda dance, and I draw digitally and combine it with my own idea. So as you see here, I have twist the eyes that become only one eye, and so the shape of the whole of the Rangda is little bit different and the background. So if you see the photo is a little bit scary on the left, but on the right side, I made it more fun and more classic with the vintage color, and that's made the same character is become a new form of the artwork, and it's not as scary anymore as on the left side. That's the beauty of digital and design now. And the Bali environment is also inspired me of commercial artworks. So yeah, like this one, this is a commission for Bali Zoo, inspired by Bali nature, but I made the color more vibrant and more colorful because we want to send a message that jungle is fun. So this is for kids and for family. And the artwork are printed on the big wall. It's 25 meters long on the Bali Zoo, and people are happy to take a picture in front of the design. And besides doing digital artwork, I also made a mural with my team. So before pandemic, almost like 70% of our client is for mural, and this is in line with the rise of social media such as Instagram, because people are very happy to take picture in front of photo and share it with on their social media, and they are more effective rather than putting a commercial on magazine, something like that. So that's why mural on restaurant or hotel are being very famous, and we are doing it almost every day for about 5 years from 2016 and 15 until 2000 in early 2020. But pandemic changed everything. Okay, so what I tell you on the previous slide is most of what I'm doing in almost 16 years in creative industry is our commission project for clients. Client mostly has their own guideline when work with us, and we have to follow their guideline. So the project is like this, as you see on the screen, for branding, for design for sandals, for mural, for merchandise and everything. That's all commission projects. And as you know, for designer, commissions mean brief, deadlines, contracts, and revisions. But on the other side, I have lots of personal work that have got it on my Dropbox. This artwork are just for fun and because I love doodling and refreshing, so I have almost hundreds of personal work like this. And before, we have to show our personal works or projects on galleries or creative space. And if you want to show your work to a bigger market, you have to be in a big gallery, and it's not as easy to get there, especially for digital artwork. So yeah, because before we have to show our artwork on the galleries, so now there's an NFT market. So this is my first NFT that sold 2.35 Ethereum, so it's $1,100. So it's a huge money for me, especially as an artist in Bali. So NFTs become a big market, and with NFT we can reach a wider audience, and I think it's not just about the money, and it's about the community and to grow together and also support the other artists. So NFT become the answer for me and most of my fellow artists to new form the art gallery, a marketplace and platform to meet the art community and a place to meet collectors. And this is the most important that NFT me as an artist to explore more for myself and have fun. So this is really different than what I'm doing mostly for clients. So yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for those insights, Monez. I particularly love that point that you've just shared, that, you know, it is an opportunity for us to be able to reach new people, new audiences. So it is a really exciting time to be applying this to the art sector. But thank you so much for your insights again. Now we've got a couple of guests here on the stage with me. We'll keep Monez there on the screen just to keep an eye on the audience. But I'd like to move forward to Brad Cunningham. So Brad is the Director of Strategy and Growth at the Yappy Group. Welcome, Brad.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Of course.
Can you hear me okay? Great.
Wonderful. Now, when we caught up earlier this week, you shared with me that you spent about 15 years living and working in Indonesia before you returned back to Australia. What was the initial appeal about Indonesia and what kept you there for so long?
I'm not going to lie, it was yeah. I originally first went up to Indonesia and Bali, of course, when I was turning 19. And I just got there and I thought, this is the centre of the universe. This is great. So I was halfway through university. I went up each year after that and continued to have an absolute fascination with the place. I was lucky enough to move there in 98. So I had a fairly non-linear career path, and I started originally in allied health as a podiatrist. It was at Singapore General Hospital, and it didn't really take. So yeah, I ended up leaving after a year, and I was moving to Bali to become a bungee jump instructor.
So you've dabbled in everything.
It was an interesting time. It's fun, but yeah, I realised that obviously it's somewhere I wanted to be, but I couldn't. I didn't want to be a music writer all my life. So I made the conscious decision to come back to Australia and do some grown-up things for a little while. So I spent a lot of time in hotel management, and I did my MBA, and had always kept an engagement with Bali, and was lucky enough to get the opportunity to move back up in 2004.
Awesome. Well, it's great to have you back. I know everyone really has a different answer to what keeps you in Indonesia. Mine is certainly the food motivation, but we're glad to have you here. And can you provide a little bit of background on how you entered the digital strategy and growth space? And why do you think Indonesia is such an important focus market?
I spent a lot of time in consumer brands up there. I was working originally went back up to work with Oakley sunglasses. It was rather small at the time, and it very quickly was promoted and considerably head up the marketing and sales for the new Southeast Asian business unit. And of course, Indonesia was a massive focus with that. Through that time, it's still very early on in the piece, and it was actually Facebook was just starting. But it was purely out of need. There was no endemic media. The cost to reach markets, particularly in Indonesia, but when you also focus for the rest of the region, just such a massive geographic spread of population groups, and very little infrastructure built up there to meet most of the traditional ways that people to growing awareness, engaging markets is incredibly expensive compared to Australia, and also very opaque as far as the outcomes from that. So it was really looking at identifying opportunities of where you had a level of reach and at a cost effectiveness, and also the quantifiability of it. So it was really looking at how to apply these digital tools from early on.
Fantastic. And so you're now with Yappy Group.
Yes.
And what do you think is the importance of using data metrics to drive social media campaigns? And do you have any case studies that you can kind of share with us about some success stories?
Yeah, it was interesting. I've been looking for a period of time. I was looking at my transition back to Australia was probably over a 5-year period of planning, and I met the team from Yappy during that time. And one of the things that really resonated with me about how they worked was the absolute focus on return on investment. So I was working with an operation up in Bali, and incredibly successful. Those who've been up there was at Waterbomb. So we were looking at one of the main ways to improve the business, because it was we're hitting capacity every day with the numbers we'd allow in to maintain the experience. So one of the main ways to be able to drive improvements in the business was to really look at how to drive increases in the net revenue per user. There's a lot of it it was very traditional as far as the sales channels, using through travel agents was a massive amount, or direct walk-in. So it was actually looked to restructure the entire mix of sales channels to bring on online sales. One, to improve the forecasting ability to plan ahead, but also to look at how to take away the massive commissions we're giving away. So setting up all the platforms up in Indonesia to be with the online and the e-commerce side of it. But then I recruited the Yappy team to come on board, and we put 95% of the marketing budget into social and moved online sales from less than 2% to over 25% in 4 months,
Wow.
which contributed to 10% increase in the average net revenue.
And that was just solely from a focus on social media engagement on the ground?
I'm not only look at social and digital, but it's looking at the return on investment, and I just don't understand why you look at splitting investment into areas just to cover all your bases if you're able to make a greater investment in a certain area. So when very, very much there is an argument for digitally led customer acquisition plans a lot of the time, particularly up through the region, when you add all those sort of challenges. So
absolutely, thank you for that. Now I know for people who are looking or thinking about making an entrance into the Indonesian market, can you share with us perhaps some of the challenges and solutions that you've experienced with some of your clients and how they can actually be successful in entering that market? Yeah,
I think we do a lot. We've moved from most of over the last 9 years. Yappy was looking at very much a consumer-facing businesses and brands. We've now been taking that experience over the last 2 years and applying that into solutions for more business facing clients, and we're doing a little bit of work there. But probably talk a little bit more macro about the opportunities there is the fact, and particularly through it as well, it's not a disruptor. People think it really is an accelerator. When you talk about crossing the chasm and getting people on board, it's forced people to be moving into these digital platforms and having to make and engage and find new ways to do business. Well, it's been a blessing probably for a lot of people in this room to be able to bring everyone forward where it's probably going to be looking another few years to get there. All the leading indicators for looking at Indonesia as a market, it's so hard to pass up. I just looked today, Google and Temasek each year put out reports on the Southeast Asian economy from a digital perspective, and I was interested to look back that in 2016 that they were forecasting that the e-commerce market in Indonesia would be worth about $46 billion. Well, this year's report, it was $53 billion just for this year, and now they're forecasting $104 billion for 2025. So it's every year is noticed. Normally they talk about the massive potential of markets, and it never eventuates. Well, every year the real results are blowing away what's available there. When you look at being able to take that into actually engaging individuals, that through social in Indonesia, people spending over nearly three and a quarter hours a day on social platforms. Australia's no slouch, but we're only doing 1 hour and 45 minutes. So, and in that, people are saying that they're identifying that there's 170 million people active daily on social. And 60% of those people are saying that they're using social for work as well. So when you look through, even just cursory look on LinkedIn today, looking at senior roles in Indonesia, director, VP level, and C-suite, there's over 2 million people through that. So in a position where we are now, where you are limited from going through the old process of flying up and engaging and trying to do meetings, you're in a position where you can. That's always going to be important, but you can do that level of engagement and build strong relationships over a long period of time, but do it on a much larger scale as well, and get through those first levels of actually just identifying and working to develop relationships. So that first part of the awareness and starting conversations. So when you do have the chance to get on the phone or finally go to meet someone, that you've got a well-developed relationship, and that ability to turn that into something meaningful is going to be a lot higher.
That's fantastic. And it's incredible to hear how much growth and potential there is in that market. It seems like quite an obvious, space to be trying to enter into. Any final remarks on, any tips that you can provide the audience on how to be successful in that space?
It's a big part of what we do too. Is it's not just about customer acquisition or business development. There's so many ways to look at how to leverage and apply social in particular, because it's such an easy tool, particularly when you're talking about from a creative perspective as well. All those barriers to entry to be able to get a position to sell have dropped significantly using social marketplaces, the NFT side of things as well. But the ability to actually get out and look beyond just that sales side, but how to test and iterate new products as well. You can very quickly get out, identify a target market that's of interest to you, and work through to get to that point of almost a commitment to a purchase, to test and iterate the product, and minimum viable products there as well. So just thinking about the tools and how you can apply them in different ways practically to drive your business forward.
Thank you. And I think there's a bit of a myth in that people believe that social media just happens, that people just naturally, post and suddenly you're famous and you've gone viral. But it's amazing to hear that there is actually a lot of preparation and a lot of information out there in the market to actually understand what the audiences are looking for.
They're just channels. It's the same as everything else. But if you put rubbish in the market, it's still rubbish. It's just you're going to spend you can spend a lot of money reaching a lot of people to show them rubbish. So it is, nothing changes. It's the old school approach. You need to understand exactly what your value proposition is that you're putting forward, how you differentiate that from your competitors for those specific markets you're looking at. It's just you're in a position to test and identify that very quickly and do it on scale and across very fine market segments at any given time to see what is working the best there.
Yeah, and you can come prepared with these kinds of digital campaigns.
Yeah.
And I particularly love the point that you mentioned that, COVID wasn't exactly something that stopped this growth pattern. It's just a nice reminder to the audiences and businesses that we do need to be agile, and we're very lucky that the creative sector is actually leading in those digital engagements. So thank you so much for your insights, Brad. Round of applause. Thank you. Now on stage as well, I have Dr. Eunice Sari. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your expertise. So Dr. Eunice, UX design is a term that some also might not be familiar with. Can you provide a little background on your work and how you came to start your company?
Okay, well, this is quite interesting. Can you hear me? Okay.
Check.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it's quite interesting. Like when we talk about UX, because my background is actually not in the field of computer science. When we talk about UX in the past, it was only talk about computer science, engineering background. But then I started my work in UX is back in Scandinavia. That was early in late 1990s, where I did some work like helping people to improve their products and services. So I went back to Indonesia in early 2002, and then I think, okay, well, I got some slide actually. Don't know if I can show it to you, but yeah, basically, why I started UX because I saw in the late of 1990s, you can see we were in a .com boom. And everybody was trying to jump into the bandwagon. They're trying to develop like internet-based solutions. And when I came back to Indonesia, I saw that a lot of people, they wanted to have a website, and it looks so poor. It looks so, what is going on here? So my background is in education actually. So I need to educate these people because I'm privileged enough to get some knowledge and experience back in Europe, the early adopter for the human-centered design. And okay, so this is what I'm going to do. So what I'm trying to do is I'm going to translate ideas into solution. everybody got ideas, and how we can actually like make it into solution. So that's simple, like where I started my business. Like what you said before, like, I mean, like, okay, well, we cannot just like put things rubbish on the social media. We have to think, like, if you want to make a website, need to think. You cannot just go into Wix or Weebly and just type anything, because it will affect how you look like in on the eyes of the you know, like your customer and everyone who will be buying your stuff. So I started my business back in Indonesia. I started to educate people, and I'm learning myself about that. And yeah, and then it's like it continues after like for many years. I learned from the mistake, because people do not understand. I'm like I was like somebody talking to the wall. What is UX? Like, what is human-centered design? What are you doing? Like, well, they like a lot of time I came to my clients and asked, well, we have to think about user. Well, we just give user what we have. We got a very good idea. My director will instructed us to do something, and now we're just creating something. And then at that time as well, like a lot of companies from US, from Europe, they come to Indonesia, because Indonesia is such a big market. They want to sell everything to Indonesia, and then it's just like okay, it's rubbish. It's like a rubbish website, rubbish product, and it's like you use it like and then gone. Like,
very honest.
well, I have to be critical when I'm thinking about, when you become a UX, you need to be critical. Yes. Yeah. But it's for the best of experience. So that's what I've been doing. So basically, when we talk about UX, it's not just like creating a really nice product. Oh well, that was in 2002. And then when I moved to Australia, like in 2008, and then I started CX inside here. And I mean, like the situation here, well, it's still quite the same. Translate using the human-centered design. I mean, like translating ideas into solution, creating how might we create a good website is still like relevant. How might we create a good app? How might we create a good system? And especially right now, digital product and services, that's quite different. Is it like but then still like on the line on how we create something good. And when we talk about UX, it's talking about the relationship of the users, you as the users, with a certain brand for a certain period of time. So it's not just like okay, this is right, this is nice, this looks really cool, right? Like the other day, I did a study. It's an app for disability people. And then what happened in the first page already like accessibility and disability accessibility problem, because we don't understand what to do, what's next. So that is something that I would like to, you know, like in a very short time, what UX is. Yes,
yeah. Is any final ideas or tools that you can kind of share with the audience as to how they can be successful in that space?
Yeah, I'm kind of like I'm going to show you things in a very quick. Well, user research is one of the things that is the simplest thing that you can do, like trying to understand your user, but it is actually the practice is not really easy. You really need to show like humility, you really need to see to openness, like when you're trying to understand your users. And then, well, we have a lot of community with them, marginalized communicate with them, how we can actually like building our empathy with them. We do being critical on what different kind of apps. So we just do not complain. You want to make a difference, say something, especially to people like who can develop or talk to us, and we can give you some tools for you to do this, like analysis of evaluation of the app, and then you can help them to make a better app. We can do, okay, I have talked about this, like being, you know, like somebody who is doing like you know, like a TV series about what's the name, like the boss, like I don't remember, that was a while ago. Then you are the boss, you become like somebody like and then you try to understand. What is that, Bill? Yes, that one. And then what else? Oh, this one is really, really good. I think this is where a lot of companies kind of like miss out, you know, like if I ask you, for example, you don't have to answer me right now. If I ask you, for example, right now, think about how you do brushing your teeth every day. I will ask you, I guarantee everyone here will answer it differently. And then I will, we have done this practice so many times, and I see like some people, oh, well, I miss like opening the tap and I drink, take the water into the glass. And that's what we're actually doing in journey mapping, right? Like, because we're trying to understand step by step. It's quite pedantic sometimes, but sometimes like when you talk about system, you cannot miss one step. That's the step that we need to think. And then the other tool is like to bring everything together as well. We have we use a lot of design thinking 2.0 and design sprint, and it happens that I'm one of the Google certified on the design sprint. So I'm happy to inform you, share with you whatever it is. And this is like also the best as well. Well, I've got the best thing. This is the last one. The last one is like a lot of my clients, they come, oh, we don't know how to do UX and how we can actually convince our boss that we need UX. So what I say, like, bring your boss, come here, sit with us, and bring people actually using this product. And then we test this product with the users. And just, oh, I don't know, that looks so bad. Oh, I don't know. Because sometimes like we are in a high chair, high position, we don't really know what is going on. And a simple thing can actually change a lot. I think that's my.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's such an interesting insight, to understand that things that might seem automatic for us are actual quite curated critical steps when it comes to user design. So thank you very much for your insights. Now we're going to move into the panel discussion. So we'll bring Monez back onto the screen to answer some questions from the audience. I'll open the floor to any questions in the audience. We've got a microphone roaming with Emma here. So just this gentleman in the back. Hi, Monez, welcome back. We sure can. We've just got a question coming from the audience. So.
Hey, Chilumba from Acting. Thank you so much for your time. I'm just curious, you mentioned through your research, you go through this empathetic stage. Today's startups face a challenge where, either you raise your valuation, you get investment, and there you prioritize the shareholder value, or you take a long-term risk and empathize the customer and build the product. What would your thoughts be, like advising a startup? What would you focus on? The empathetic course of action, where you interact with the customer long-term, or to sell a product that you don't even believe is user-friendly, or has the usability that we talk about in order to get that revenue and then get validation, get investment. What are your thoughts on that? Thank you.
Oh, that's me.
Dr. Sari, if you have any thoughts. Thank you so much for that question.
It's an excellent question. I think I really love that question so much because it has been a problem for a lot of startups, especially think, oh, well, I have to do user research, but I don't have money. I don't have time. I mean, I have to do my pitching next week and getting the investment, right? So, but then I've been for 5 years, I've been helping a lot of startups in Silicon Valley. And then when they come to the investor, and then they said okay, have you done your user research? What is have you validated your idea to the users? Oops, no, okay, sorry, goodbye. Come back when you have done your user research. So basically that's the situation. So what we talk about a design thinking 2.0 and design sprint, actually it helps you to do a lot of things in agile manner. So for example, when I'm doing user research, right? So I will just organize the trip, for example, to the field, to the rice field. It only takes me about 5 days, okay? You can afford for 5 days. When I do the usability testing, it took me only 2 days or 3 days to do that. So with the 2 or 3 days, it makes a difference. So for example, one of our clients said that they're against, no, we got such a rigid system, how we do things, right? And then it will make everything, disrupt a lot of things. And then he said I said oh, well, if you launch first, right? and then it goes to the public. You got so many people looking at it. You got a really bad rating in your like in a store, like Google Store or something like that. And then I think it's better you spend like 3 or 5 days or maybe 2 weeks, just like doing research, like a several user research, agile manner, and then like and see if there is anything wrong. And then it's like a lot of people like try to save the time and the money like at the end. So they say like we have done the user research, but the fact is they're just doing user acceptance testing. Okay, you like it or not? Yes, I like it. Oh no, that's not going to work. What you do is like the time, the day when you are doing the drawing, when you have an idea, that's where you did your user research. And you can afford to ask like, Honey, I think you are the people who is going to do some, you'll be like the buyer of MONEZ artwork. Like, what do you think about MONEZ artwork here on NFT? And he will be happy to really like answer me, and I'll why don't we like meet in a cafe? I give you, buy you coffee. So that's as simple as that. So I mean, like you can finish in 1 or 1.5 days, like talking to people. But if you want to do it properly, this is like have to be all documented and everything like that. Then it sometimes may, you know, like may take time. But there are a lot of ways to do that. I'm happy to chat like a lot of different methods how you can do it in a agile manner, because basically we just came back from the border of Kalimantan with Borneo. So we did okay. Well, this is so difficult because in order to go there, it took us like 24 hours, right? So and then we're like, oh, we don't have time, we don't have anything, and then you know, like then we would probably get 5 or 10 people, and then like the data will be quite slim. And what happened was that we got usability testing, very deep data, 31 people, and then like a workshop, we got about 50 or 60 people. So this is a really effective way. It's not just asking what do you like, but to really understand what their behavior is. So I think it is feasible still to do it as a startup.
Absolutely. And I think in the entrepreneurship space, a lot of the times these products are trying to offer solutions to make things better or easier for communities. So I guess the idea is you can't offer a solution if you don't understand the core of the problem. So I certainly do agree with your remarks in leaving a bit of space in your design process to ensure that we're understanding how people are working. Another question in the back here.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there was any natural areas of collaboration that the panel are seeing that could emerge between Perth and Denpasar in terms of skill sets or gaps.
Absolutely. Brad, do you have any insights?
Yeah, I was just making a note before when Eunice was speaking. Everyone looks at Indonesia. I mean, it's a massive market. We're looking at relatively the same size GDP as Australia, but nearly 80% of that wealth is congregated in the top 10%. So you've essentially got a market larger than Australia with the same spending power that we're looking at. Most of what he's seeing in Indonesia, we're talking about, is there's all these apps and things going on. It's looking to solve problems within the domestic market because they see it as so big as well. But there are a lot of things, and I think health is one. It just kind of, I was trying to think, because everything, we seem to always talk about how we can take advantage of the Indonesian market, and we see how the Indonesian market's not looking after themselves, but the whole thing of where there's some synergies there, particularly around healthcare, where we're very heavily system-based and structured and regulated. All the innovation in Indonesia is being driven by the fact it's completely deregulated, and the fact that things are being driven, innovation is driven by necessity. So there's a lot of opportunity there to be looking at how these highly innovative solutions are popping up, where they do have the markets and the population's large enough to test and iterate quickly, to even be solving issues for what is, most of these are directed at much towards the lower end of the socio-economic spectrum, that work's been done to be able to drive opportunities here in Australia as well. So everyone's looking at how we can take all of our best practice from Australia, but it's looking at how you can take new and innovative ideas from what's being done in Indonesia and apply it in ways that you just wouldn't get the ability to even get it off the ground here.
Thank you. Another question at the back.
Thank you, panel. Terima kasih. Really appreciate all the insights so far. I work with a lot of young people, so I am absolutely really appreciative with all the wonderful innovation and trends and up-and-coming work and platforms to showcase ideas and present products into the modern age. But I'd be keen to get your perspectives quickly, each of you. What skills should we be teaching our young people for them to succeed in the jobs of tomorrow, to meet the demands of tomorrow, to deliver the products of tomorrow, whether it be actual soft skills or more technical skills like what softwares or competencies in coding languages or things like that. But yeah, we'd love your insights. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
No Indonesian.
Yeah. Terima kasih.
Yeah, I think language is important, right? So I haven't told you yet, but then my company initial name was Translate Easy, right? And then because of that name, we got, instead of a UX project, we got a lot of translation project. And then it was very interesting. Luckily, I could speak several languages, so I'll do it, right? But then it is not the case, because you cannot just translate things and then to get a meaning, right? So when talking about what skills you can contribute, I'm talking from the point of view of UX, because UX starting from the beginning when you got an idea. So it's really you cannot push everyone to code. You cannot push everyone to do the design. So we actually working with a group of people doing the business analysis and how we can actually put these people into the process of UX, strategizing and trying to balance between the user need and the business need. And we're working with a lot of people who are really good in designing the information in not just coding, but architect. So anyone actually here, if we set up a company right now, like today, everyone here will get a job. What is important here is that how we can actually have, what's important here, the skill is how we can facilitate each of you working together. And then how we, for example, how I can, if I'm the CEO, your CEO, for example, then I would how I can encourage you to have an open-minded, to have a spirit of open learning, because that's about UX. If you got the stuff in your brain, then you cannot do anything. I'm this is my idea. Whatever you say, I'm gonna stop here. Don't give me any more feedback. So I think for me, that's the skill of the soft skill that you need to teach people. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think it's come up a couple of times about building relationship before building business. Monez, when you're working with international collaborators or clients, what are the kind of go-to tools that you're using to keep those relationships warm and authentic, especially if the borders are still closed or provide difficulties in actually getting to face-to-face meetings?
Yeah, I'm using the social media a lot. So especially Twitter. Surprisingly, Twitter is still working until now, and it's really important for Twitter is really important to get in touch into the client. Surprisingly, from Twitter. And yeah, so Twitter and website is still the most important things. So, and yes, like what we discussed in this panel, so the UI and UX is also important. So it's that's also including the branding of the me as myself, and also the studio that what we're running here. So the importance of what we present on internet as a brand, also what we provide into the client, and how we show up our best works into the social media is also important. For as simple as, for example, on the website example. So even if we're doing hundreds of works for client, but we don't have to show everything on the front page of our website. So maybe people will boring to see it. So we just show up about 10 best artwork on the website, and that's gonna be really work for clients. So yeah, I think the internet is the most important. So especially for NFTs, is also that's make a big difference for us, especially in Bali. We have our friend is not all of digital. So in Bali, we have lots of traditional artists such as a painter, so sculpture, and pandemic is also come with a big effect for us because Bali is really we are really depending on the tourism. So since the pandemic, the galleries are not open, so the buyer is not here because the border is not open yet. So with digital tools like the internet and also NFTs that now we have a new platform to sell our works into the wider market.
Wonderful, thank you so much. And this is actually will be our final question, but it's come from one of our online viewers. How can people from non-creative backgrounds help to contribute to this thriving digital market? Maybe we'll throw to Brad.
The market's the opportunity there across the board, regardless of what industry you're in. I think a big part of there's still, we talk about this wonderful utopia that we're moving into. There are still realities of massive regulatory hurdles on both sides for countries here. It does present massive opportunities though for knowledge based and creative IP based. It's not going to, it doesn't really matter if you're not creative or not. It's still a digital led entry is one of the most quantifiable ways and best business cases at the moment, particularly for new businesses starting and looking at things, to be able to manage the cost of building and developing, and just saying that whole customer journey and the balance between developing and getting the funding and developing out and testing your thesis on what you're trying to deliver. So it's there's opportunities across the board.
Absolutely, and even though you might not strictly be a creative in the industry, there are still ways to think creatively about your approach to business, right? Awesome. Well, thank you so much. So that brings us to the closing of our wonderful event today. I'd like to thank our speakers, Monez, Brad, and Dr. Sari, for sharing some incredible insights on how to build success in the digital creative industries between Australia and Indonesia. I'd like to also thank the teams at City of Perth, AsiaLink, and AIBC for putting together such a wonderful panel. And thank you to our audiences for your time and participation. I hope these conversations were meaningful to you guys and that you can walk away with practical tools to implement to your own business and ventures into this space. So thank you again, and I hope you all have a wonderful time at West Tech Fest 2021.